I have an evil mother-in-law story for you guys today, but I promise, it's not like the normal mother-in-law stories where everyone's just ganging up on the mother-in-law because she's such a horrible person. Oh no, this one is so different, and I'm going to tell you why. At first, we see from OP's perspective, and her name is Claire. She is 34 years old and she's a female, and it turns out that she's a liar. We see from her perspective at first, and everyone in the comment section is feeling so bad for OP. And then, believe it or not, mother-in-law finds the thread and decides to say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna post the truth, and I'll tell you guys right now, the truth to this story is absolutely mind-boggling, and by the end of about, I don't know, the third update, you're going to be cheering for mother-in-law. And yeah, I know, that's not something that happens a lot on this channel, but guys, I'm telling you, let's get right into it.
Hello there, I'm 34 and live with my husband, Andre, in North Dakota. I don't have kids, but life is still beautiful. Living only with my husband has made me appreciate the sweet time that we get to spend with each other. No in-laws barging in and out of our lives or our home. That's a blessing, and I'm grateful for that. I mean, I worked as an agent in an insurance company when I met my husband. He was my client at the time, and after only a few interactions, we grew closer and developed a likeliness for each other. You see, I'm white and my husband is black, which led to all my friends to come up with me with their opinion, saying, it won't work out, blah blah. I responded with, quote, guys, we're living in the 21st century and you're being an utter racist. Duh. He and I soon started going out on dates after I had proposed to Andre. Here's the thing. I almost shut the mouth of my friends just for Andre, but how could I silence someone Andre cares about a lot? It's no other than his mother. My dear mother-in-law, Ebony. When Andre and I decided to marry, mother-in-law opposed our decision as she never liked me, and I bet she hates me to death because I'm white. She told her son that my feelings for him were temporary, and I might leave him for someone else in the future. Can you believe my mother-in-law instigated my husband against me just because she has prejudice against me? I got Andre to tell me all this when he came drunk to my apartment one day, crying in my arms. Going against Ebony's wishes, Andre still chose to marry me, and we did get married in his family church. This has hurt my mother-in-law's feelings, or should I say her ego. However, mother-in-law does attend our wedding. Of course she would, since it's her only son getting married, but I still don't understand the decision she's taken now. She's come to disown Andre. Her only son? I don't know how she could do this to him just because she doesn't like his wife. I have my own guesses as to why Ebony has disowned Andre now, and let me explain. You see, Andre was adopted, a son of Ebony and Brooke Brown Robinson. Brooke was my father-in-law. My father-in-law's body got paralyzed when he had met a horrible accident a few months ago, and he could neither talk nor basically do anything on his own. This was mainly why my father-in-law did not attend the wedding, and only mother-in-law did. I wish she did not attend the wedding too, because she was not pleased with it at all. It was terrible vision on her face as my close friends came to me and said, "How strange is your mother-in-law? Can you believe she hasn't smiled throughout the day today?" I can't tell you how embarrassed I was to hear that all on my wedding day. I must admit that I could not help my embarrassment, which gave way to angriness inside my heart. I could not contain it, so I quarreled with my husband on our wedding night, and I know I was wrong to do that. Only if my mother-in-law could fake her smile, so I would have been saved from all the bad moments from that day. Every day, my mother-in-law showed me how unhappy she was with our marriage, as she did not even talk to me properly. I felt that she was never happy with my presence in her house, so I asked Andre to move out to my place, which was only a few kilometers away in Stanley. Andre expressed his agitation for not being able to leave his mother alone, considering that my father-in-law was also bedridden at the time, and of course, I knew that my husband cared for his parents, and I was no different. I had already arranged a house helper for mother-in-law and a personal nurse for father-in-law. Andre felt a bit at ease, and we decided to move to Stanley at my place, which was also closer to my company. I mean, I don't think it would make my mother-in-law feel defeated, which became clearer from her next move. I bet she had felt happy after knowing that my husband and I quarreled on our wedding night. She's always tried her best to instigate quarrels like that as long as I lived there. Yet, I didn't know she had her reach to Stanley as well, and she would not leave us alone, just to be happy. I got promoted to a higher position to have my personal car and driver from the company. Well, the company knows how to take care of its best employees, I'll tell you that. Anyways, to celebrate the occasion, I decided to throw a party inviting all my friends and colleagues. I had invited my in-laws as well. I mean, why wouldn't I? But you see, should I say my mother-in-law did not show up? Rather, she had a more upsetting move up her sleeves. She called my husband, telling him that he must come home as my father-in-law's condition has worsened. Why? Home and not the hospital? Was the first thought that came to my mind. Andre asked me simply to postpone the party, and I refused. Tell me, did I go wrong with that? Inevitably, Andre and I had a terrible fight over this, which resulted in his leaving the house and me alone to welcome the guest. He chose to believe his mother and left me on the most important day of my life. How could I not sound apathetic when it comes to talking about my mother-in-law and what all she's done to wreak chaos in our lives? I had to attend the guest without showing embarrassment and disappointment caused by my husband's absence. I admit that impulsively I again made a mistake, and the next morning, as Andre did not come up night, I called my mother-in-law asking his whereabouts. The first thing that she had to tell me was that my father-in-law had gotten better, and Andre could not call me because his phone had died. She said she was about to call me, which I'm sure she never was. I told her that she had succeeded in destroying the most important day of my life, and I said congratulations to her. She said that I just misunderstood it all. But before she had more lies to tell, I hung up the phone. The house was a mess when my husband returned, since I had to throw things here and there after giving in to my anger. How long could I remain angry at my husband? And honestly, I was angry at my mother-in-law, and that too subsided as I hugged him and apologized for my behavior. He forgave me and suggested that, and I quote, "These past few days have been really crazy. Let's go check out your mama." I absolutely loved the idea, and we planned to visit my mom, Julia, who lives in Lisbon. Mom and Dad had taken a divorce when I was only 9, and my dad thought my mom was becoming controlling day by day as she inquired after everything my father did and everyone he met. So he eventually decided he can't take it and he's just going to leave her. Well, I don't blame my dad. My mom can be controlling sometimes, and yes, it irks me. But never mind. My poor mom must feel unloved and alone after Dad had left, and on the day Andre and I were driving to my mom's place in Lisbon, I had him make a promise to me, which was that he must not leave me as my dad did. I was so happy that for all this time my mother-in-law and all the trouble were out of the way. Ugh, speak of the devil! Things turned bad all over again. After just a day of our stay at my mom's place, Andre got a call. It was almost afternoon, and my husband decided to help Mom in making brunch for us. He was helping her, so I decided to pick up the call. It was my mother-in-law who demanded that Andre must return at once to her place, and she had always just accused me of brainwashing her son's mind. But she never talked about herself or her venomous influence on her own son. It was as if she heard me thinking out loud that she called me a snake in her son's life. I hung up the call and I cried. Andre came to me and asked the call when he saw me cry. I told him that it was his mother, and his mother asked us to, return at once. I told him that she had no valid reason and just wanted to call you back so she could destroy one more precious moment of our time here in Lisbon. I told him as I could not help it that mother-in-law had accused me of being a snake in my husband and her life. It made Andre very angry, and for the first time my husband supported me. He texted my mother-in-law saying that he would not return and blocked her on the spot. Perhaps he had also come to know that his mother had no good opinion of me since the beginning, and it had been her way of trashing our happy moments. After all this drama, my husband and I spent the rest of our holidays happily in Lisbon. We returned to Stanley after a week or so when Andre decided to see his mom and apologize for his behavior. I didn't go with him, but I knew from the look on his face when he returned home that my mother-in-law had wounded his heart. He told me that when his mom opened the door, she did not let him in. Rather, she told him to go back as he never has to return to the house now or to her. He asked for the reason, but the only thing that she said was, and I quote, "You're no longer my son." Can you believe she disowned her son, her once precious son? The son is pure like a white rabbit. I knew that my mother-in-law never really cared about Andre. I learned that she had acquired all the property under her name, and isn't it cruel to disown her son just like that? Perhaps it is, because he is her adopted son after all. Well, I'm writing all this to you to tell you how frustrated and irked I am because of my mother-in-law's actions. But mostly I'm sad thinking about how she could do this to her own son. Tell me, what I should do now since I'm already feeling guilty about being the reason for all this happening in the first place to my dear husband. It would be great to hear the opinion of all of you reading this. What is up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So today's story is going to be very, very interesting, and why I say that is, it's another mother-in-law nightmare story, but this time it's a little different. Mother-in-law came across the post by her daughter-in-law on the internet and decided to reply. Guys, update number 1 is mother-in-law's point of view. I want you guys to sit back, relax, because this one's going to be wild. If you guys like these sort of videos and you want to support the channel, all I'm asking from you is hit that subscribe button underneath this video. Thank you so much for that, guys. It really helps the channel. And let's see what mother-in-law's point of view is about her daughter-in-law. My daughter-in-law is a big fat liar. In most of the things she said, she has not been honest in telling the miserable tale that she claims is her own. I am the mother-in-law who she claims had destroyed her and my son's life. I dare not to, do the latter, but now I can't be sure of the former. I have not destroyed my daughter-in-law's life yet, but I'm darn sure she has instigated my fury. She claims that I have absolutely no business but to come up with these moves that I hide in my sleeves to make her life absolutely miserable. Gosh, be gracious. I'm a woman who minds my own business. I have no time to mind anyone else's since I'm more occupied with taking care of my family duty and religious duty. It makes me laugh to see how so many people have shown their empathy for my daughter-in-law, while they've called me an evil person. You people don't even know the truth and believe someone who lies like someone's life depends on it. But how far can you go after lying, I ask you? Let me give you the cold hard truth and an update on my daughter-in-law's story. I was minding my own business when one of my neighbors, whom I'm close with, came running to me a few days ago. She said that my daughter-in-law had posted something where people were calling me out. They have some horrible stuff to say about me, you know. I was fine with my daughter-in-law's lies and drama when she lived at my place, but I'm definitely not fine with the truth that she has not told yet. While she obviously is defaming me for being an evil mother to my son or an awful mother-in-law to her, it's true that I was against the marriage, but how could someone not smile throughout the day? This generation has taught even the elderly to fake a smile, and secondly, how can my daughter-in-law be so vicious that she hid the truth about her father-in-law getting admitted to a hospital? It's true. that on the day she threw a celebration party to get a promotion, I did call my son, Andre. Who else would I call when Andre's father gets hospitalized for his health when it was getting bad day after day after day? I did not ask my son to come home. Rather, he was asked to come to the hospital. My daughter-in-law has not spoken anything about this, and she even lied about her so-called, quote, first thought. Sometimes I feel how smart people have become these days. My daughter-in-law calls me racist, saying that I don't like her because she's white. Well, I say God knows the truth. I doubt it is she who's racist, because not even once has she cared to look after her father-in-law or mother-in-law when our health was decaying when she lived in Williston with us. My daughter-in-law has anger issues, and she's canceled the party after she got very angry with Andre for leaving her alone that day. Andre told me how she was so angry that she had started throwing stuff, and he had stayed with her until she fell asleep after drinking a whole bottle of whiskey. This is why he had come late to the hospital knowing that his father was ill. I'm at least glad that he made it there. How well my daughter-in-law's whining about destroying her happy moments with Andre when they were here in Lisbon. This woman never tells the truth, I swear. How many times I feel disappointed and sad about this cunning woman getting married to my son, so I pray for my child, my son, every day. My daughter-in-law never showed up at the hospital when her father-in-law was ill, and she still dare lies on the internet about how considerate she is of her in-laws. My son had told me about how his wife was having this negative opinion about me interrupting their lives. He told me so I could understand that it was just his wife's nature, and I should not feel upset by that. So when they were in Lisbon, I decided that I would not call even my son throughout their vacation. But what would this old woman do with her son's father passing away? Yes, that's the truth. I had to call my son so I could tell him that his father had passed away. But my daughter-in-law answered the phone. I was crying as I told her the news, and this woman gave me the reaction and even a stranger would feel disappointed by. My daughter-in-law first called me a thorn, a liar, and when she hung up the call, she told me that my son also has the same opinion about me. Later, I received a text from Andre saying he would not come home. I was crying because of my husband's death, but I was more disheartened by this response that came from my son. Later, when I texted back, he blocked me, and how could I not disown a son who has given in to his wife's lies and who did not even come to his father's funeral? I was saddened by the words that my son said he had not written. My daughter-in-law says she wanted to move to Stanley because I did not like her presence in the home. Well, she might be half right, but she moved to Stanley because she did not want to take care of her in-laws whose health was decaying. She saw us as a burden on her, and I think my son has also realized how manipulative his wife is. I received a text from him saying that he wants to meet me and that he's sorry. I want to believe that everything's okay with my son, since I would wish him nothing but blissfulness. Update number 2, still the mother-in-law's perspective. I think the wind of opinion has changed in the comments after I disclosed the truth in my last update. As I told you earlier, I received a text from my son. I was still disappointed in him, but how could I not listen to what was worrying him? He came yesterday and told me he wanted to file for a divorce. I was completely shocked to hear this. My son Andre, who was head over heels for his wife, is seeking divorce now. Before my daughter-in-law tells more lies, I would make one thing clear. I was not the one who instigated my son to get a divorce. Why would I ever do that when he was happy, or at least he claimed he was happy with his wife? Listen to what I have to say. It'll make your heart bleed as it did mine, and I never expected that a woman who made such a fuss about how I was a thorn in her and her husband's life, who did not allow them to live happy moments, would do such a horrendous thing to her husband. Someone who claims that they love a person with their whole heart can do such a thing, I don't know. Or at least I did not expect it. After reading my daughter-in-law's story, one thing had become clear to me. At least she's fond of her husband and wants to stay with him. But I didn't know she'd change her colors like a chameleon in just a few weeks. Goodness gracious, I always say that she's a liar with a beautiful face. My son told me that he felt disgusted to love a woman who was not even sincere with her feelings for him. To put it simply, my daughter-in-law has been cheating on my son. 2 weeks ago, my daughter-in-law told me, Andre, that her mom was ill, so she was going to see her, and she asked him not to worry much when he asked to accompany her. She said it was nothing serious and she'd take care of her and return in 2 days. But my daughter-in-law, she got late. What I mean by that is she did not return in 2 days, and Andre decided to call his mother-in-law on the 3rd day, who told him she was neither ill nor did her daughter come to visit her. When his wife returned on the night of the 3rd day, he inquired, and she said that she had gone on a solo trip to the beach because she was tired of everything and simply wanted to take a break. My son is not the suspicious type, but even the devil won't believe lies like these. He still let it slide. Believing his wife's words, he said she did not tell Andre because it was more exciting that way. Huh? See the nerves of this woman? After a week, my daughter-in-law starts to come home late. She would claim that there was a lot of work, and my sweet Andre believed her stupid lies. One night, he decided to go to his wife's office just to surprise her with a cup of Americano and donuts. God be merciful, what he saw left him disgusted that day. He was parking in his car at the parking lot when he saw his wife descending from the lift and walking towards her car. Andre saw that the driver was still sitting inside, and at first my son thought that his wife was returning home after completing her work, but oh no! The truth is yet to be revealed. She was smiling all the way as she walked towards her car. The driver came out, opened the door of the back seat for her, and she slid inside. What is striking here is that I feel ashamed to say this, the driver too, wow, did a little bit of sliding with her. My son waited as his eyes could not believe what he witnessed just now. My son is a quiet man, so he simply felt helpless and he chose to leave the parking lot and drove through the highway until he returned to his senses once again. He went home when it was 3 a.m. My daughter-in-law opened the door and inquired about his whereabouts, and he looked at her with his drunken eyes that were very angry. Ignoring her, he's going towards the bedroom. Well, when he hears some sort of thrashing sound, his wife picked the remote up off the TV from the couch and thrashed it on the ground, and he looks at her. And she starts shouting that she knows her husband's cheating on her. She said she had this feeling of her husband having a mistress, and guess what? The pot was calling the kettle. She cries. Her husband doesn't love her anymore, and what not. But this was not going to change the truth, was it? My son chose to leave the house, and the very next morning, as he came dragging his suitcase into the living room, my daughter-in-law saw this as she was watching the morning news. She was startled to see that and hear her husband saying that he had not been able to take better care of her and he's sorry. The driver might be able to do it better, though. There was a pin drop of silence in the room, and this came as a real shock to my daughter-in-law, and for the first time there was fear and not fury on her face. Andre told her that he knew she never went for a solo trip, as he inquired about the hotels on the beach, and there was no booking in her name. Well, she must have been somewhere else with the driver, as he was only one driving her. She tries one more of the lies, but goes quiet after hearing her husband say that he knows everything. His wife, realizing she has no other way to stop everything from shattering, gets down on her knees and begs for her husband's forgiveness. My son does not forgive her and leaves the house, and he meets with a lawyer, inevitably filing for a divorce. I may have been let down by my son when he did not show up for his dad's funeral, but he is still my son, and I would back him up for the decision he has taken, not because I dislike my daughter-in-law, but because he is right to do the right thing. She made her choice and my son's making his now. I have to reveal something even more shocking to you guys, though. I've been thinking that my son did not show up to his dad's funeral because he must have been manipulated by his wife. The truth is, he did not even know his father had passed away. When Andre finished talking to me about his decision, he inquired about Dad, which gave me the shock of a lifetime. How could he not know that his father passed away? I told him the day he texted me that he was not coming home was the day his dad passed. I could sense it as if my son was struck by a thunderbolt of lightning. He said, why did I not tell him? I told him that I called and his wife answered, and she called me a thorn and hung up the phone call, and after I received a text from his phone saying he wasn't coming, I was blocked, as I could not text or call him later. He started sobbing, saying he neither sent any text nor did he block his own mother. I knew my son would never do that, but I still made the stupid mistake of believing that the text was from him. I told him that it must have been his wife who was lying once again. Once again? He sobbed for a while in my arms, remembering his father, and he said that he could not believe that his wife would hide such news from him, knowing how much he cared about his parents. I would say that even my daughter-in-law must have been absolutely blinded by her hatred against me, that she could not even believe that her mother-in-law was telling the truth. Well, she must have chosen to believe that her mother-in-law is trying to come between her and her husband. But I never had any intention like that, not at all. If she were a good wife to my son, I would have eventually come to like her. I always had a gut feeling that this woman was not right for my son, and at that point Andre received a call from his wife. But in his fury, he doesn't answer. He has all the right to do so, because cheating aside, his wife's hatred against me took away my son's right to be present at his dad's funeral. I embraced him, as I usually do, and I told him to come home. We have a hearing of the court this week, and I'll update you all about that very, very soon. Updates number 3. I pity those people who make mistakes because the reason for their homes are breaking apart. I can't describe my sadness seeing my son unhappy after leaving his wife, whom he did love so much. Nor can I help but feel pity for my daughter-in-law, for she took the love of her husband for granted. In court this week, when the judge asked for the reason, Andre simply claimed and I quote, irretrievable breakdown of marriage. While he cared not to look into the direction of his wife, she was sobbing, and I felt bad for her, but she deserved this. Or God knows what's the best for his children. In this country, it has become easy to get a divorce, while it's equally hard to find one with whom you'd want to stay forever married to. I've come to undo the mistake that I made the day I disowned my son. My daughter-in-law is left alone, and Andre has returned to me. Well, everything has been going pretty well. Andre's overwhelmed by the gloom, but I do know that my lively son would come around soon. I received a text message from Julia yesterday. She apologized and even further told me that her daughter has been insecure about love ever since her parents got divorced. She said her daughter herself is to blame for everything that's happened in the past few days. Julia asked me to understand that her daughter is not inherently evil and asked me to forgive her. I'm a mother too, so how could I not hear the plead of someone who is also a mother, eh? I have no negative feelings against my daughter-in-law, or should I say ex-daughter-in-law. I forgave her long ago because I felt pity seeing her sorrow face during the court hearings. There's so much people, that can learn from this. But I want to say to the young and old generations of this country that losing and love is easy, but finding it takes a lot of courage and compromises. We all want to be loved, but we're not ready to appreciate the love we get and look for more in other places that are either dark or result in darkness. Thank you for listening.
Wow. So OP of this story was definitely a piece of work. At first, she had me fooled. I was thinking to myself, wow, you're really mad, mother-in-law, because these two are in love and they're together and you just don't agree with it? What's wrong with you? This isn't your place at all to be a part of their relationship, but she had me fooled. It turns out the mother-in-law did not think like that at all, but I'll be honest with you guys. I want to discuss something that was in the comment section. It was basically saying why OP was the worst. Absolutely, hands down the worst. And it wasn't because all her manipulation. It wasn't because she lied about mother-in-law. No. Everyone in the comment section could come to agreement that the reason why they hated her so much was that she did not tell Andre about his father passing away, and she went ahead and blocked his phone number so his own mother couldn't reach him and he was not able to go to the funeral. I mean, that is just absolutely sickening to a new level, and it made me disgusted. I'm so glad, though, we got the truth. Mother-in-law was finally able to realize what was going on. Andre was finally able to realize what the heck was going on. And they could all say, you know what? I don't want her in my life. And then we found out the craziest shockwave at all. She was cheating with no other than the driver. I mean, what the heck is wrong with this girl? She had so many red flags, and finally, Andre was able to see. Guys, let me know in the comment section if you were the mother-in-law. We'll take the mother-in-law's perspective for this story, and we'll think from her perspective. If you were the mother-in-law, how do you handle this? Do you do exactly like, well, the mother-in-law did, and at the end of the story say, you know what, I don't like OP, but I can forgive her? Do you go that route, or you just say, no, I am never forgiving her. She is evil, and she basically didn't let Andre go to the funeral of his own father, and it's all her fault. Drop your comments down below, guys. Let's discuss this story. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day. If you like these stories, hit the subscribe button underneath this video for daily videos, and it also supports me a lot. Thank you, guys. I'll see you tomorrow, and just remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.